What is up, everyone, and welcome to Ask MandR, episode 376, a series where I answer your questions. So if you have a question or topic you want covered on next week's episode, drop in the comment section down below, hit the like button while you're there, and let's get into it with our very first question from Will Hall, who says, is it just me, or was anyone else's video stuck in German? So last week, I was just starting out translating some of my YouTube videos on my end in like German and Spanish, I think were the two languages that I did.
Wenn Sie eine Frage oder ein Thema haben, das in der nächsten Woche behandelt werden soll.
And when I did this, for whatever reason, YouTube freaked out. So for a solid period of time, a lot of people were only able to watch the video in German, or some people were stuck in French, even though I didn't do French, but YouTube's thing automatically does French. Basically, I'm using like an app to translate my videos, and it actually sounds like me, but in German or in Spanish or in French or whatever it will be. Obviously, the hope there is that people will end up watching videos that they wouldn't be otherwise, because YouTube's translation into German or Spanish is really bad and doesn't sound like me. And so that's why I'm doing that. But for whatever reason, YouTube forced it upon everybody. And then I had to upload an English dub, and then eventually it got fixed. So I don't think it should be a problem again, but if your video does get stuck in another language, it's because YouTube is spazzing out. But yeah, I'm gonna keep a closer eye on that, because I can always upload an English dub, just basically the same original audio if I have to. Anyway, next up from Wily Coyote, he says, are you going to dress up as Ahsoka for the episode that is closest to Halloween? Asking so I can prepare myself for the jump scare. So I've got a costume for this year on the way. Unfortunately, it did not come in on time. So next week I will wear it. And I would say it's on par with Ahsoka, and I will leave it there. Get Coop says, what are your thoughts on tech integration impacting the printing on LEGO Star Wars minifigs? This is going to be a real hot take. If it makes printing worse, it's probably bad. Now, that being said, for those that are living under a rock, in 2026, they are doing the smart brick thing, which we've talked about quite a bit on the channel, but the new leak that just happened this week was smart figs, and that is LEGO minifigs, and of course here Star Wars, that on their back have like a printing that's like a QR code type of thing. At least that's what it looks like to me, but it's probably not actually a QR code. It's probably just where you tap the minifig, like an NFC, like you tap your phone or your credit card at the store when you go to buy something. Like that's what I think it's going to be. And then the smart brick itself will actually play the noise or do the thing or make the like voice of Luke Skywalker or whatever the case is, depending on the set and depending on the feature that they've integrated into it.
I know.
In the back of the minifigure, look, it looks horrible. It's much worse than just having normal back printing or no back printing at all. But what's even worse is the sides of the minifigures. Oh, it's horrendous. So on one side, you have a trash can, literally because the minifigure is trash. They should put that on some of the clone troopers next time too. And then you also have like the dates of manufacturing and the copyright LEGO 2022 on there, which has led some people to think the leak is fake, but it's not fake. It's probably just when they actually copyrighted their design for the whole smart fig thing. And there are official patent images out there on the internet, so I can show those so you can get an idea of like how the minifigure will work internally. And it's a pretty cool system. Like, don't get me wrong, the technology here is really neat. It just sucks that it's going to make the minifigure just palpably worse. The torso and the hips will also be conjoined. Think about keychains and magnet figures, the way that they are stuck together. You will not be able to remove those pieces from one another. So that is a big change, obviously, with these compared to your normal LEGO minifigures, but that obviously is going to have to be done to allow space for the components without having pieces going all over the place inside of the minifigs. So just some changes there as well that are going to make the experience worse for a lot of people. There will be no pulling parts off or doing anything with certain parts of the minifigure, not all, I'm sure. I'm not going to show the leaked image of the actual Luke minifig, but there's no head on it, so we know the head is still removable, so one thumbs up at least.
Yeah. I'll drop you to...
Look, these obviously make the minifigs look way worse. However, kind of depends on what you value. Do you value good-looking, high-quality, accurate minifigs, or do you value the ability for Luke Skywalker to sit in his $90 bad-looking X-Wing and say, ooh, I got him, or whatever he's gonna say, right? Hopefully just actual movie quotes, but, you know, they could go off the rails with it, too. Obviously, this isn't going to be on every figure in every set, which is a silver lining, but it does scare me that, like, if it goes well, maybe it ends up being on every figure in every set, and then every figure looks horrible. At least right now, and as is, you know, they can't escape the allegations here, because we do have a leaked list of all of the other minifigs that are going to be smart minifigs, and I'm going to read the next guy's question, and we'll get to it. They can't, the allegations, we'll wait on that, because Galactic J says, the new leaked list of 2026 minifigures that interact with the smart brick system includes Greedo and Han Han Solo. Do you think that the set those two figures will be included in will be a Playscale Mos Eisley Cantina? I haven't watched New Hope in quite a few years, but I'm pretty sure the only place we saw Greedo was in the Mos Eisley Cantina, and if not, it's by far his most notable appearance. Yeah, they're gonna make a Mos Eisley Cantina as part of this, definitely. And I guarantee you'll sit him in the seats, and the smart brick will somehow be connected to those seats, and it'll make the noise of them shooting at each other, or Han Solo talking to him. Like, something like that will be the way that works. And so, yeah, Mos Eisley Cantina is coming. We do have leaked prices for some of those March sets that are supposed to be the smart brick, smart FIGS sets, and the prices range from $40 to $80. So really any of those could be the Mos Eisley Cantina. LEGO has made a $40 Mos Eisley Cantina. They've made a $70 Mos Eisley Cantina. They've obviously made a $400 Mos Eisley Cantina, but this is going to obviously be on that lower end of prices. Now, circling back to what I mentioned with LEGO not beating the allegations, this may be the only time that I'm actually happy they aren't beating the original trilogy bias allegation, because recently it's happened with things like the diorama sets, the helmet sets, mechs, and they only do original trilogy for like the first 2 or 3 years of any of these new ideas. And in the case of diorama sets, obviously what happened is they made a bunch of dioramas for the original trilogy. The theme, sub-theme kind of fizzled out. They made one for the prequel trilogy in the Mos Espa pod race, and then now they are discontinued with dioramas for the foreseeable future. We're never going to get that Palpatine's arrest diorama that everybody dreamed of from the second that they announced them, you know? So I suppose ideally the same thing will happen here, and we won't even get to the prequel versions of these smart figs. Like, the first 2 years of this little subline will come and go, it will fail, it'll fizzle out, and they'll move on to something else without ever touching, like, and making, somehow they could make Clone Troopers worse. I never thought I could say that because they've made them really bad. They could make them worse by doing this to them. It's phenomenal. It's great. I love it. So anyway, that leaked list is out there. Let's go through that. Obviously, we have the Farm Boy Luke Skywalker. That is the actual leaked minifigure that we've seen. We'll also be seeing a training Luke and a pilot Luke, which obviously indicate the X-Wing set, but the training Luke, I think, points towards us getting a Dagobah, because if we're getting that pilot Luke, he's coming in the main X-Wing, and then Dagobah Luke could come as part of the X-Wing. We've had a Dagobah Luke in an X-Wing before, but more likely, I think, is that we'll see that Dagobah Luke in a Yoda's Hut set with the rumored Yoda minifigure that we're going to be seeing as one of the smart figs. So Yoda and training Luke, it's going to be a Yoda's Hut smart set. I'm really figuring out what all these smart sets are going to be real quick here. The Greedo and Han Solo that we already mentioned will go with that Mos Eisley Cantina. There's also said to be a Chewbacca. Not really exactly sure which of those sets he will end up in. Could kind of fit in anything, really, to me. Like, he's just kind of omnipresent in a lot of cases. And then Vader and Palpatine are the final two that are confirmed via rumors. Obviously, with the Vader's tie rumor, Darth Vader's definitely going to be in that set. I assume Palpatine would also just go in that set. I don't really know what they would do with Palpatine in those other price range sets from $40 to $80. There's 4 of them coming out in March that I believe are all supposed to be smart brick, smart minifig sets, with the 2 more in January with the X-Wing and Vader's TIE Fighter. So in my opinion, at this point, I'm pretty sure we know what 4 of the 6 will be, if there are going to end up being 6. And Cooper does say in his list of minifigs here that there will be more, even more. I don't know if that's specifically pertaining to Star Wars more, or if there's just going to be more from like Marvel or Batman or something like that. So remains to be seen there, but certainly a lot of original trilogy stuff with these smart figs for now, which may, in this very rare case, in my opinion, actually be a very good thing. That's only going to be some of the original trilogy stuff that's ruined, because we get enough of that. We've had, you know, Greedo and Han Solo and Farm Boy Luke and Dagobah training Luke. We've had all those things a million times, so like getting one bad one doesn't hurt me as much as like the single version of Commander Bakar that we will ever have being bad. It's, you know, you can understand why it's a bit different in a lot of cases there. So smart figs might be a smart idea, but they just look dumb. I've been waiting to say that for like 3 days. Let me know your thoughts on those in the comments. I'm going to make a full video about it, I'm sure, at some point when we know more of the rumored sets, but man, pretty wild times for LEGO Star Wars. Next, from Tim Boy Advance, he says, with the rumored polybag and possible Playscale TIE Advanced in 2026, what do you think the chances of us getting a UCS TIE Advanced next year to pair with them? In 2023, we got a polybag and then UCS X-Wing. In 2024, we got a polybag and UCS TIE Interceptor. I know we got an AAT and Millennium polybag, but Jango's Slave 1 this year. But either way, a TIE Advanced is for sure overdue. And I think you're onto something here. I think there is a decent likelihood of a Vader's TIE Advanced for May 4th, 2026 here. Obviously, we have the rumor of the Super Star Destroyer out there, but most reputable leakers are saying that that's not the May 4th set that I've seen. Like, people are kind of quelling that one, and so I don't think that Super Star Destroyer will come out on May 4th. It's not impossible, but I think it's very unlikely, if it is happening next year, that it would be the May 4th set. And so that does make everything kind of point at a Vader's TIE Advanced, at least as of the information we have right now, being the polybag, being the Playscale set. And when you look to last year with that Jango Slave 1 and Millennium Falcon polybag and them obviously not matching, there's a good reason for that. It's because the UCS set was prequel trilogy, and they wouldn't bother for something like that these days. I don't know why, but they just don't make it match that way. And since next year's May 4th UCS set, in my opinion, will very likely go back to the original trilogy, it being a Vader's tie, given the 2 years prior of polybags matching, I think it is incredibly likely that we have a UCS TIE Advanced on our hands for May 4th next year. I think you're on the right path, hopefully, because that's a set that I've wanted to see remade for quite a while now. Next from Dally, he says, what do you think is the biggest flop of all in LEGO Star Wars? Look, there's a lot of candidates for this. We've, of course, got an upcoming candidate in the Smart Brick system, although I don't think it will be the biggest flop of all time. I still think and hope it's going to flop, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere in the conversation of biggest of all time. I think that clearly goes to buildable characters, but that's kind of a cop-out answer. But buildable characters, specifically the construction figures from like 2015 to 2018, were a disaster, to the point where to this day, people still send me pictures of them on retail shelves at retail price, not sold. That has to be the biggest flop of all time. There's not another set sitting on shelves 8 years after retirement, still not sold for retail price. That has not happened otherwise in the history of LEGO Star Wars. Certainly not to the scale that it's happened with on some of the buildable figures. That being said, we're also looking at sets like the Crimson Firehawk right now, unable to be sold for nearly 50% off. They've been on Lego.com nearly 50% off for like a month and haven't sold out. They've been on 50% off at Target for quite a while, not sold out. Walmart clearanced them out almost a year ago. You know, they sold out because it was clearance and they got down to like $8 if they didn't sell. So of course they sold for $8. But yeah, the cop-out answer is definitely the true answer, being buildable characters. But if you want to look at some of the individual sets, the Crimson Firehawk may be putting together a pretty good run here coming up, because nobody's buying that. Like, why would anybody be buying that? It's just a horrible set that nobody cares about. I guess it's got the silver lining of having the Nubs minifigure, but otherwise no one would be buying it. Next up from Obvious Owl, he says, if LEGO made a Master Builder Series Geonosis Arena, how would you want them to tackle putting a Battle Droid head on C-3PO's body and vice versa? Though that's easier. If it's worth tackling at all, of course it's worth tackling. It's a pretty big part of the scene, I'd say. And I've already seen people online do like modifications where they've done this. It's very easy to do with just a couple of existing LEGO pieces. And I think LEGO may even now have an even smaller clip piece that just has a stud on the end that would work perfectly fine to accomplish this. So I don't see any reason to do anything much different than what has already been done on the internet. Obviously, you could make a new mold for it, but I think that's incredibly wasteful when you could just use a clip with a 1x1 like circular piece on the top of it. You know, maybe the coloring ends up being a bit weird there, so maybe it is worth making a new piece for just from that aspect. But generally, I think most of what's been done on the internet would work just fine. I don't think that's going to be much of a concern if we ever do get to a Master Builder Series Geonosis Arena. That would be cool. Next, from Colorful, he says, what is your favorite fabric promo banner? Mine is probably the one that has Rex and the Republic gunship. The Pon Corral one is pretty crazy too, but a bit ugly. Yeah, there's a lot of great fabric promo banners out there. They don't really make them anymore, which is kind of sad. I would have loved one from the 2025 first battle pack, but a lot of great fabric banners hanging around out there. I personally have like 20 or so. I really like this clean Captain Rex one. Just has the LEGO Star Wars logo and then Captain Rex on it from 2008. That's a lovely one, but I also gotta say, nostalgia really weighing in heavily here. The 2005 Revenge of the Sith one is another one that I just adore. I was so excited to actually be able to get and own that. I was worried that was one that I would never own, but yeah, that one is definitely up there. And there's others, like the 2013 Republic gunship one I think is pretty cool. There's a lot of really cool ones, frankly. But if I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably default to 2005, but you know, heavy bias there, but you know, it's good. John says, since LEGO just included a Phase 1 clone pilot in the new V19 Torrent, do you think this could mean they're planning to revisit regular Phase 1 clone troopers soon? I don't think it has any bearing on it. I think it's completely independent of any of that going on. I think people obviously wanted a proper Phase 1 clone pilot, and they found a set to put it in. Yeah, not everything's going to be that deep, unfortunately. As great as it would be for them to go and make clone troopers that would be undeniably better than what they are making now with the Phase 2 clones, I don't think that it means that. Could that still end up happening? Of course. But I don't think it means that. So yeah, Phase 1 clones I still think are a ways away. I don't know when or why they will bring them back, but at some point I'm sure they will. But yeah, it's been one of those things in the community that people are starting to question, certainly, of like, why is LEGO only doing Phase 2 clone troopers? You know, they seem to be very laser focused on making really bad Phase 2 clone troopers when they could be making pretty decent Phase 1 clones, because those don't have a lot of the same issues that their Phase 2 ones would have. You know, the helmet holes are integrated well, the helmet prints don't have issues, they don't generally need waist capes, although some of them would, and that would be a problem, but a lot of them don't, and so so you would get away with that. You know, there's a lot of benefits to doing phase 1 over phase 2 with the current state of the program, and they're just not doing that. So I don't know. I really don't know for you. Henry Thompson says, have you seen the new Goonies set? Yes. And have you considered reviewing it given all the play features and minifigures? No. And certainly whether a set has play features and minifigures wouldn't really make me want to review it or not review it. It's just whether or not I'm interested in the source material. And in the case of the Goonies, people don't like when I say this about anything, but I've never seen the Goonies. I don't know anything about the Goonies. And yeah, that's my thoughts on the Goonies. I will say the set itself does look quite amazing. It is one of those sets that even though I am not interested in the source material at all, I can really appreciate it as a work of art as a Lego set. It looks phenomenal. You have that one super displayable side. I mean, both sides are displayable, but you've got the displayable side of the pirate ship or whatever it is. And then on the inside, you've got all of that interior decorating and stuff that's really cool, of like the underground caverns or whatever it's supposed to represent, the skull. A lot of really cool details packed into this one. Again, it's not something I've ever seen or know anything about, so I'm not gonna be able to go into specifics, but I mean, you can just look at that and appreciate it for being a really good Lego set. And every once in a while, sets like that come out, and I always love when that happens because it's just nice to see people that like something like the Goonies get something that they're going to be able to love and enjoy. On top of that, there's a GWP with this one, and it does not seem to be integral to the build. You know, it's not like the TIE Fighter hanger that's going to go in the Death Star, and if you don't get it, you're going to be missing it forever. This is just an extra thing. It says the Walsh's attic, and I believe it's the parents of the kids, but yeah, I'm not that tuned in. Looks like a pretty cool GWP set, but again, I wouldn't know like if there was something massively wrong with it. I just don't know anything about it, so it could be horrible and I'm just missing it. But anyway, Cameron says, do you feel like there's generally too much negativity in the Lego online space? I feel like over the past few years, there has been more and more hostility towards others' opinions. The Death Star comment you read in this video is a great example. I'm not a shill for it. I simply like the product. We're all online getting our niche nerdy interests in. We should respect each other a bit more. What I find wild about like the current state of online Lego discourse is there's like definitely a group of people out there that for whatever reason hate when other people want Lego to be better and see that Lego is clearly doing a bad thing, and they will defend it tooth and nail, not only like just in normal ways, but in very abnormal ways where it devolves immediately to name calling, threats. It's really bad out there. I think it is the worst state, along with Lego Star Wars' minifigure design, the worst state that it has ever been in. And I don't think that's much of a hot take at all. There's also an extreme amount of straw man arguments you'll see where like you say one thing and then they're like, well, you said this, so it must also mean this, this, and that you didn't say, but like you clearly implied it. And it's like, no, I just said clones are bad. I didn't say that this, and that. So you're 1,000% right. There is a huge amount of hostility towards anybody that says that Lego is doing something bad and wrong. Part of me thinks, absolute tinfoil, wildest conspiracy ever. I really like only 1% think this could be the possibility. But like Lego bots, Lego like online internet bots, machines, whatever, you know? Could it be? No. But like sometimes it's like real, it's like there's no way a real person is saying this to me right now. There's no way that me saying Lego clone troopers are bad has made you this upset about this. Like you don't even like them that much. You have 4 of them in your collection. Why do you care? So I think that perspective right now is really interesting. At the end of your comment, you're like, we're all getting our online niche nerdy interests in and we should respect each other a bit more. Look, I don't disagree. Look, I've been doing YouTube for over 15 years. I've been collecting Lego for 20 years. And I actually just by happenstance it was like a small YouTube guy talking about like Hasbro figures or something, made this YouTube video that I found quite interesting. And I'll just play a quick quote from him that I liked.
Scroll through your feed and think to yourself, damn, we really do hate each other. Not directly. Not like we're about to run up on each other, but in smaller ways. In the comments, in the tone, in the way that we talk about what somebody else buys, poses, or posts. It's wild when we sit back and think about it. We all collect toys or figures or whatever. We all love the same weird, nostalgic, expensive hobby. How the one thing that's supposed to really connect us ends up dividing us. We've all been the kid who's got teased for liking this stuff. So why is it that we're turning around and teasing each other now?
Shout out to Cleve's Multiverse for that little clip. I know it's not specifically about Lego, but certainly some of the things he says in there could very well be applied to the online Lego space, as a lot of it's going to be similar to like figure collecting or action figure collecting. You can see yeah, there would be similarities. So I don't know if there's necessarily any sort of good fix for it other than putting your head down and keep doing what you want to do. And, I'm not going to stop telling you how bad clone troopers are because somebody has threatened me over it. I've gotten death threats. Like the LEGO online space has gotten incredibly disgustingly toxic, right? You are absolutely not wrong. It has gotten much worse since COVID. I think there's also been a few more things that are feeding into it. Like, yeah, it's really bad out there. It's definitely one of those things where it's like, you don't want to let it take away your enjoyment. Like someone threatening you, like they're literally taking away your liberty to be able to enjoy your hobby. That's wrong. But at the same time, it's like, okay, now I got to be a little more cautious about what I'm doing on a daily basis. Like there's people out there that are actually mentally insane threatening you over LEGO opinions. Like that's just what's going on out there. So I appreciate your comment a lot, Cameron. Definitely a very on the nose observation about the community as a whole. Look, I still think there's a lot of great people out there. I get a lot of awesome I get a lot more comments of like, oh, I love your videos, oh this, and generally what I see out there obviously is a lot more positivity than negativity. And what I'm saying with stuff like this has nothing to do with like, the hostility and negativity in the space has nothing to do with like, oh, some people don't like the new Death Star, or some people don't like these new LEGO Clone Trooper figures, etc. It's literally people threatening others and like harassing others over them saying they don't like the new Death Star, or they like the new Death Star, or etc. So pretty wild stuff going on out there. We can all try to be better, I'm sure, but yeah, it's wild. I think it's a lot worse than you might think. Next from Harrison, a question from Spotify, actually. I've been posting these on Spotify. Link in the description below, I guess. It's not monetized, so I don't know how long it'll go on for if it doesn't end up getting monetized. But that being said, I felt like it'd be wrong not to take a question from Spotify every once in a while. Harrison says, ask MandR, what is one piece of Star Wars media that you feel does not have enough LEGO sets? I always felt like we were lacking in more niche areas of Star Wars that lots of people have asked for, such as the Old Republic and other games. I think video games in general would be a great answer to this, although my answer is going to be in a different direction with the Bad Batch. We've only ever had 2 Bad Batch sets. Do you know how many Young Jedi Adventure sets we've had? 2.
What?
The fact that there are as many Young Jedi Adventure sets as Bad Batch sets is so dirty. There should have been a Bad Batch V-Wing and a Bad Batch, shuttle with all of the Republic commandos. Like, there should have been at least 4 Bad Batch sets. There should have been 2 more there, at the very least. And there definitely could have been more. So I feel like Bad Batch is one of those huge missed opportunities for LEGO over the past few years, and the likelihood that they'll go back to it is very, very low. Maybe we'll get a one-off set at some point with those Republic commandos. We have just as many Bad Batch sets as Kenobi sets, and there was 1 season of Kenobi and like 3 of the Bad Batch, plus the 4 episodes in the Clone Wars. Like, we had more. So I don't know why there wasn't more for the LEGO stuff, but yeah, there's more Rebuild the Galaxy sets. Shoot, there's 4 Rebuild the Galaxy sets and 2 Bad Batch sets. I think Bad Batch is probably one of the pieces of media done the dirtiest by LEGO Star Wars, as far as like the amount of stuff we've got. Andor, obviously another great answer. I know that's where a lot of people will probably go. We've had 3 Andor sets. Feels okay, but there's definitely still some stuff left on the table too. Dressed Pumpkin says, what molded animal is most overdue in your opinion? Bantha, Cadu, Arena Beast, etc. I don't know if we get molded Arena Beast. They've done one buildable one in the past, and I think they would end up being buildable if we did get a Master Builder Series version. But that being said, obviously could be a molded one, but I've always thought of them as ending up as buildable. Also, like the original versions of them were buildable that they had done as like prototypes back in 2002. So I would assume they would be buildable and not molded. That being said, the Cadu, we've already had a redone Cadu, certainly, but again, I take that off table. I think the Bantha is clearly the most overdue. It's pretty wild. We just never had that. Obviously, we got the Micro Fighter version of the Bantha, which is pretty cute. It's fun, but it's not that molded version of the Bantha like we see in LEGO Star Wars, The Complete Saga, or LEGO Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga. Like, just a great molded version of the Bantha would kill it. I'm sure it would be like $30 of the price of a set, and the set that it came out in would be massively overpriced, and that's probably part of the reason we haven't seen it. But like, come on, just put it in something. We need it. Odin says, coming up for the Christmas season, I have a budget for my Christmas present to get 1 UCS set under $500. If I could get any, what would you recommend and why? You can also include non-UCS if you want. I think I would quickly recommend Jango Fett Slave 1. That's 3 of your $500 just right there. And it's obviously a great set minus the young Boba Fett, but it's going to look fantastic on your shelf. And that's probably what you want. If you want a nice, big, imposing UCS set, you got $200 left. I'd go with something like the Dark Side Millennium Falcon and a Jedi Bob Starfighter. It probably depends on what you already have in your collection, but Dark Side Millennium Falcon, Imperial Star Destroyer, $160. I don't really think the MTT or Juggernaut are worth asking for because they're just so small, but the Star Destroyer or Dark Side Falcon would kind of fill out the rest of that quite nicely. So that's what I would go for. Hopefully some good quick advice for you there. Next from Price says, random question in this vid. You mentioned Scott the Woz. Do you like retro video games? Not a bit. I don't care about them at all. Other than like I had a Nintendo 64 as a kid and I played some of those games and I nostalgically look back on them. Very like Mario Kart 64 and GoldenEye, and there was another Super 8 or something. It was like a car game. Sarge's Heroes was another great one that I absolutely loved. I mean, that's about as retro as it gets for me, but even then, like, I have no interest to play any of that. I am a brain-rotted Call of Duty wannabe pro player, and that's all I play anytime I play games. The interest I have in Scott the Woz is he makes great YouTube videos, very funny, and I am, I guess, fringe interested in the topic of retro video games, but I just enjoy like him talking about the games. It's fun to listen to like different little subtopics of video games, and I every once in a while find myself like wanting to make a Lego style Scott the Woz video, or like I'll try to integrate like a little joke that he did into one of my videos to try to make them funnier. So it helps inspire me to do better stuff too. But he just makes great YouTube videos, and that's why I watch him. Really, like, yeah, I don't otherwise have much of an interest or watch other like old video game stuff really. So there's technically the speedrunning guy and Carl Jobs, the cheater guy. Those guys I like too, but I can't remember what the speedrunning guy's name is. He like makes the videos about like the world record runs of like Mario Kart, and that's always like great. He uses that one song. Some of you know what I'm talking about. There's the one song that's like kind of his. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you have a question or topic you want to answer our next episode, drop in the comment section down below, and stay toxic out there, LEGO community. See you next week.